it'd be tough to boil it down. I like the satisfaction of actually building stuff, to know that, my energy's now more so in the office than on site, but, the energy's actually create something, it's something that it's a tangible thing. I like the customer interaction. Ultimately, I still get to know my homeowners for the most part. I think that's a good side of it where, we build houses, but ultimately that house is what allows our buyers to create a home. And just the overall industry, it's kind of a pretty basic necessity. There's a few things in life that we really truly need, and, food, clothes, shelter. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that being involved in something that's pretty critical is important too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The advocacy side, why I like it is because it can be completely self-serving and yet completely selfless, right? Mm-hmm. Ultimately, why we advocate is for our buyers, right? And so that's where what I find is building a relationship, if you take that approach, is easy, because ultimately everybody needs a home. And so ultimately what we're truly advocating for is what are the best policies, what are the best building codes, what are the best regulations, what's the best way of taxing things, to create that atmosphere that allows people to have a home, whether it's a rental or an ownership position. Ultimately, that's what we're here advocating for. And so, that's a great thing for me, is because the harder I advocate for our buyer or that renter, means I have a lifelong job, because ultimately it means they're going to be able to continue to afford the homes that I build. Mm-hmm. I read an article the other day, and it was one of those things that it said, the biggest and best issues are meant to be complicated, right? Mm-hmm. Ultimately, the challenge is if we try and simplify it, we've done a disservice to that issue. And so housing affordability is a complicated issue. You can talk about supply and demand, you can talk about, the developer timeframes as far as, the cost of that development and stuff like that. But really, we need to get to a collaborative approach. I think that as developers, as builders, we need to kind of, be more vocal in the community and try and break that stereotype of that, we're just a greedy developer, trying to make a buck. Ultimately, we are in business and we are trying to provide for our families. That's, it's our job like anybody else. But, really, we want to see our consumers do well, right? I'm quite ecstatic when, I'm able to sell a home to a homeowner, and because the market does well, they make a good return on their investment. That's good. That means they're going to be in a place to buy another house from me, right? And so, or same thing, family, friends, right? A lot of people are, it's an investment. They want to be able to earn those dollars and, take that profit and either reinvest or someday retire with some of that asset.
Yeah, and of course, so you're in the lower mainland of BC, just up the Fraser Valley, originally still part of CHBA Fraser Valley, and just up the valley from Vancouver. But you're seeing all of those effects from Vancouver spill up your way, and so how do you see affordability affecting things in your sales office?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a good problem to have, but ultimately, we're starting to see, as the Vancouver market gets busier and busier, we're starting to see the outflow of that, where a lot of our buyers are that retiring demographic or soon to be retiring demographic that have a significant amount of their retirement investment in their home, and they're cashing in the city and moving out to the valley and buying our homes and able to put money in the bank. And we kind of have an inside joke with some of our buyers that I was able to sell them a brand new home, and that allowed them to retire 5 years early, kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. I'd say one of the biggest things that we especially see in the lower mainland is the skilled trade shortage. I know that's not necessarily the case everywhere in the country. With as big and a diverse a country we have, very much differing economics. But right now, trades are a challenge, and so ultimately, we're either going to need to see a big influx of new young people excited to get into the trades, or we're going to have to look at new ways of doing things. We're going to have to start trying to automate and going into more factory assembled wall systems or factory built homes in order to do the amount of volume that we need to do. So I'd say that's one big thing. I think the other side of it is the affordability issue. As the markets continue to expand and grow, we've got to figure out, what is that secret sauce? It's not going to be a magic bullet, but it could be a secret sauce of a number of factors that are going to, allow my children to buy homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like solar. We've done a few test case houses. It's amazing, even in the few years that we've been doing it, how much more readily available and inexpensive it's become. And so, right now, the public appetite, or at least the political appetite for greening of everything, I think that's a big thing that leads in with our net zero program with the home builders. There's lots of other programs out there as far as building more efficient homes, but, the neat side of net zero is, if you've got that beautiful white rock view home overlooking the ocean and you want to have a whole bunch of glass out back, you can still get that, and you just have to offset that additional power usage, by putting in some solar panels. So I think that's a really cool thing coming forward. So going way back, actually, my window/gutter salesman, who had been the running president of, this is when it was the Canadian Home Builders Abbotsford, because there used to be an Abbotsford and the Chilliwack version, and they amalgamated into Fraser Valley. So the president that had been there for about 7 years, I think, Massimo, was, and he was like, you should come out. And, so finally, after about a year of nagging me, he finally got me to come to a meeting, and I attended a few dinner meetings, and then he was like, you should come on the board, and I got the whole, it's not that much time speech, it's only a couple of commitments, which in hindsight, the local board actually wasn't that much time, it was a few meetings a year, but that was kind of the start of it, and I was on the board for a year, and then they asked me to, look at becoming a second vice president and kind of work my way up to president, and then the local president sits on the provincial board, and the provincial board asked me to come on the executive, so I've heard it doesn't take that much time speech a number of times, so
right.
But it's
doesn't take that much time at the national level either.
It doesn't take that much time. But so that was kind of the progression from local to provincial to national.
Yeah.
I think advocacy is always a big one. I've been very fortunate to get to be a part of that over the last couple of years as well. So, continued advocacy, the travel. I think, Canada's fantastic. I've gotten to travel a lot of it. There's still a lot of areas I haven't been to. So, and really the travel comes back to the people, right?
Yeah.
It's getting to go to those different regions and meeting different people that are in the same industry, that have the same challenges, enjoy it for the same reasons, being able to, hit the pub afterwards and have a beer and just chat about life and, shared experiences, and it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Well, I always say when I started with the association, I do a lot of traveling all the time, but that first year was really a learning year, and, you go to the dinner meetings and you speak and you get good dialogue, and that's excellent. Yeah. And then you get the real information in the pub afterwards, right? Yeah. So that's been really good. You're gonna have a wonderful time. Well, listen, thanks a lot for coming in to speak with us today. I hope everybody's gotten a better sense of Nathan Stone, our new president of Canadian Home Builders Association. As we've just talked about, you'll be traveling from coast to coast to coast over the coming years, so you can look forward to shaking hands, having a chat, and maybe even a beer with Nathan over the course of the year to talk about what CHBA can do to continue to support members and hear about all the things that we are doing every day. So thanks a lot for coming, Nathan. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks.